Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes. Now you
All right.
start your
So,
session, sir.
right. So the topic which I have got is actually from traditional to holistic education, and specifically in the context of transformative learning within management education. So it's been about 2 decades since management education is under heavy critique and led by the Academy of Management Learning Education. And what I'm going to present in these two slides is actually the summary of that scholarly critique, which has been levied upon the management education for the last about 20 years. Excuse me. Firstly, we said that the business education is actually in the mold of scientific education because we all know that it started from the works of engineers like Frederick Taylor, and its foundational paradigm is that of objectivism and scientism. And some people say that this is a real problem of business education because unlike medicine, medical education, legal education, and engineering education, the classroom atmosphere in management or business education is problematic because in, for example, medical education, the one who is teaching is actually a practicing doctor. Similarly, in engineering schools, the one who are teaching are actual engineers, and in law, they are actual lawyers or advocates. In case of management education, it is quite possible that the person who is teaching is qualified, that is fine, he might have a PhD, but he may not have worked in industry and may not have any managerial exposure, him or herself. I can say it from literature's, quotes, but from my personal experience of working in business school for a long time, there are about 50% of my own faculty which have never worked in industry. So that is a real dilemma. On the one hand, we rely on the paradigm of objectivism and scientificism and assume that we can measure things and we can predict human behavior. But on the other side, people who are teaching business are actually not, may not be managers. It is also alleged that the business education has too much profit maximization focus. And what various courses of business education teach is actually the maximization of profit, short-term profit, at the perhaps at the expense of what the literature says wisdom or long-term view. Now, because of the scientific foundations of management education, the education is devoid of, like science, it is devoid of morality, history, and it speaks a universal, or it attempts to speak a universal language and universal theories, and it very proudly claims that management is universal. And there is a lack of contextuality in it. Now, it can be fine in case of, for example, perhaps medical education because everybody has the same systems, but when it comes to management, that becomes, as we'll see, it becomes problematic. Moreover, the style of teaching which is adopted by most of the business schools is an instrumental style of teaching where the teacher is considered as the all-knowing person, and the students are perhaps the one who are just listening, and therefore it is the nature of the education becomes informational, and there is less tendency for students to critically question the teacher's assumptions or the book writer's assumption or even their own assumption about life and about society. It is also said that a large number of business graduates, they do not make much impact in terms of organizational discourse or societal or in terms of sustainability. The impact of managers qualifying from or business graduates actually qualifying from uh, top-notch universities is really minimal. Continuing with the critique, The education, because it is amoral, because it is ahistoric, it lacks a goodness focus in the terms of Aristotelian term of goodness, of the higher good. There is a lack of that higher good in management education. And what it promotes, the discourse of management education, is utilitarianism, over competitiveness, and self interest. It is, I mean, it's not a hidden fact that whatever is produced by scholars is actually limited to journals which are read by just the scholars. I mean, nobody from industry. I haven't seen people from industry reading management journals or reading top-notch, top-tier journals. So most of the knowledge which is produced is actually irrelevant as far as the real-life management practices or real-life industry experiences are concerned. Management education is top-heavy, too much top management focused. I mean, all the theories of leadership, theories of motivation, whatever theories you pick, they will talk about top managers, middle managers. Where is the lower management? When what about the supervisors? What about the receptionists? And what about the people who are working even less in the lower tiers? They are mostly silently ignored in the management text. So the focus is purely, even if you look at that pyramid which we show in terms of the skills, the technical skills, the human skills, the conceptualizing skills. So technical skills part, those people who have technical skills, how are they managed? I mean, it's not enough to say that they are technical skill oriented people and one day they will rise to a middle management position and then they will be considered as managers. So they are managers already because they're managing their workstations. The impact of management education on growing income inequalities is very little. In fact, experience has shown us that most of the time, with the sort of managerialistic discourse which we teach actually increases the income inequalities. Now, what are the outcomes of the TME or the traditional management education? And I call it a crisis at a micro and macro discourse levels because we have too much rationality, which we produce, are they have only they know only one aspect of working, and that is totally embedded in rationality. We produce managers who are unwise in the sense that they do not think in the long term, and their thinking is very short term. We produce graduates who are too cut off from the larger question of life and existence and universe. I mean, they connect with cosmology, they connect with the microcosm or a macrocosm. They are absolutely unaware of these things. So what they know is that, this is marketing, this is accounting, and this is all about making money and all about advertising on whatever claims you make. There are a number of courses of business ethics throughout the world which are taught, but the tragedy is that business ethics is based on empirical sociology, what is taught in business schools. Whereas the philosophical or the religious aspect of morality is totally ignored in those business ethics courses. What we get is then Enron type scandals. And all these big scandals of financial market failures for the last 2 decades have been ignited by people who actually were graduates from top-notch universities. As I already said, there is too much focus on analysis, but not much on synthesis and creativity. Lack of good citizens because we do not place much emphasis on goodness. There lack of good citizens, and they are law-abiding, but they are far away from context and morality. Continuing with the outcomes, because of extensive um, self-interest focus and utilitarian behavior, there is a generally hostility between organizations and brands, and there is a cutthroat competition. And what people like David Boyer says, unleashed capitalism or consumerism, where even the public services are commodified. There's a syndrome of publish and perish as far as the university professors are concerned, because they publish for the sake of publishing, for continuing their tenure tracks. But what they publish is not as much relevant as where they publish. So either they publish or they perish. So they, for the sake of their careers, they publish. There's a lot of, especially in Western context, there is a lot of dramatization and media hype of top business leaders, and they are presented as overinflated, or as figures which are like transformational leaders, or visionary leaders and charismatic leaders. But the amount of white collar crime conducted by uh, by the business people, by the companies, by the frauds which happen. If you look at the newspapers, for example, or even the electronic media, the white collar crimes are never highlighted. So because of irrelevant knowledge which is produced in the journals, there is a growing gap between.
Excuse me, sir. Just 3 minutes are left.
Okay, there's a growing gap between theory and practice, and management graduates, they do not have multiple intelligence because they are full of analytical skills. Maybe they are verbally intelligent, they are quantitatively intelligent, but spatially, culturally, socially, they are not as intelligent as they should be. And there is therefore a widening gulf between what they say 1% and the 99%. So the suggestion which I have is 4 levels of holistic management education. The first level of which is based on Jack Mazurow's theory of transformative learning and Clinton's view of transformation. The suggested pedagogical interventions are actually exposing people and students to perplexing dilemmas where have to think critically, have to um, they have to actually think about their own assumptions which they have accumulated uncritically over the period of time in their classes, and they are involved in a dialogue between their conscious knowing and between their unconscious knowing. I have to quickly wrap it up. And similarly, level 2, the perspective is deep extra rationality, is championed by Tistel and Diggs, and the pedagogical interventions are like interaction between conscious and subconscious, and teaching through symbols and imagination and images, and through exposing people to maybe sculpture making or art or something of that sort, where they get the human touch. And level 3 is a structural or developmental perspective, which is that of Laws and Egan. And here we are talking about multiple epistemologies, because as already said, mentioned, that management education has quite limited epistemologies, subjectivism. But here it is suggested that the people start knowing through multiple ways of knowing. And finally, the 4th level is that of emancipatory or social learning level, which is the outcome of the works of Fryer, Rita, Foucault, Brookfield. And the suggested interventions are like moving from instrumental to emancipatory paradigm of learning, and taking into the postmodernists, the deconstructionists, the power games embedded in the language and discourse. And finally, what we will gain from this is that holistic learning discourse uh, will be resorted instead of just functional way of knowing. Wisdom will be inculcated. There will be emphasis on not merely means but also on ends. There's mindful and contemplative teaching, because teachers will become themselves transformative resources for the students. Contextuality, history, values, context will be placed inside the management education. Holistic epistemology, or multiple ways of knowing. Thank you very much. And if there are any questions, most welcome.
Thank you, sir, for your presentation. Still, there is no question, sir. Hello, Professor Naveen Asdani, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, still there is no questions.
Yeah, I'm just welcoming questions if there are any questions.
Yes, sir.
If not, then I'll stop sharing.
Yes, there is no question from the audience, sir. Thank you so much for your valuable presentation. Can you please leave the, can you please stop your audio?
Yes, sure, I will. Just give me a minute.
Now I would like to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Rajiv Lojandas, sir, Director of IQAC at IUBAT. Dr. Rajiv Lojandas, sir, achieved PhD in Teaching and Technology from the Assumption University of Thailand under its Graduate School of Business and the Advanced Technology Management. Dr. Rajiv Lojan joined IUBAT in August 2016, along with a total year of 21 years of experience in educational and non-government organizations. He also worked for an international NGO as a co-coordinator in Bangladesh. Dr. Rajiv Lojandas authored a number of progressional and publications that have been published in the local and international peer-reviewed journals. Thank you. Now I would like to hand over my session to Dr. Rajiv Lochandas, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Nagma. Uh, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible. Can you please share your screen?
Yes. Okay. So let me share my screen. And first of all, little correction with my designation. I'm not the director, but I am the additional director of IQAC, IUBAT. So you can see in my heading of today's session, it is IQAC's role in leading transformational changes in higher education. So maybe some of you are not familiar with the term IQAC, and it is actually very familiar in Bangladesh because this is a mandatory department in every university. It is actually Institutional Quality Assurance Cell. So today I'm going to talk about the role of IQACs in the leading of transformational changes, specifically in higher education. So first of all, let me look into the background uh, about the presentation today. So IQAC actually started in 2015 in Bangladesh, and it is, I have told, it is a mandatory part of all higher education institutions. And then I also checked about the IQAC functions or the roles they have set for all higher educational institutions. So it includes actually developing the new standards, policies, and procedures for best educational practices. And then another reality we have been going through, that is the challenges in online teaching learning. And another thing, UNESCO has just said that we need to reimagine our futures, and it has to be together about the changes of education. Then another area I have thought of, that is the transformational leadership. So there are different kinds of leadership styles. So transformational leadership is one style. And taking all these facts into the consideration, I have made the question about this session, and let me just read it out. What is the role of IQAC for transformational changes in higher education in the context of digital education, identifying the areas of intervention? So this is my question of the presentation today. And then let me move on to the method part. So what I have done, like all traditional studies, I have reviewed some literatures. And first of all, it was the objectives and functions of IQAC that is suggested by the University Grants Commission. UGC, and that government authority has made a manual which includes the objectives and functions of IQAC in all higher education institutions. Then we need to check, and what I have done already, that is the characteristics of changes about the digital education and the differences between the traditional and this one. And of course, the review of literature related to leadership traits. And then we need to consider what I have done, that is the quality culture of the institution. So I understand maybe if this is my university, there is a certain quality culture, and if it is different, then the quality culture practices is obviously different. So you understand what is the quality culture. It's not only about quality management. So considering all these things, I have sorted out some of the areas for the IQAC intervention, and then I have made some of the actions or discussions based on which a list of recommendations are made. So let me move on to my next slide. And what I have found here, the four areas of interventions are actually instructional design, pedagogy, technology, and other group. And definitely in the other group, there are some examples, not only in the other group actually, from the very beginning, instructional design, we can see some of the example things. So in the list given in the upside right corner, the course outline, lesson plan, course learning outcomes, and program learning outcomes mapping. BNQF is our national qualification framework, Bangladesh National Qualification Framework, and I know this type of framework is available in all the countries, and also the institution, that is my university or other respective universities. And in the pedagogy, I have considered here the taxonomy and MI theory, that is multiple intelligence theory, blended learning approach, the flipped teaching approach, project-based learning or problem-based learning, simulation, games, and other theories. So I'm not saying that these are the only pedagogy examples. There may be others, and depending on the characteristic of the university and focused area of the university or discipline, the pedagogy may be different. And another big area is technology. And here I have included the learning management system. And we all agree that there should be a unique platform of technological advancements so that our education can just go along with a proctored and controlled environment. And then the digital sorry, then the digital contents, that is, all the contents may be converted into digital formats, and synchronous and asynchronous teaching learning mode, and then assessment methods. So if it is online system, then there must be some special approaches about students' performance evaluation, that is the assessment techniques. And the reporting, actually reporting includes the preparation of grading and reporting their performances, and maybe some corrective measures can be taken in future. So all these are under the technology. And the last area I have just put together with some of the discrete things, and the title is other. So in that other category, I have included capacity that is the infrastructure capacity and faculty capacity of the institution, and curriculum review, that is another thing important, and the stakeholders, including internal and external, and the continuous quality improvement activities. So all these are the areas of interventions, so that IQAC can play a significant role about leading the transformation in education. So based on these findings, the discussions are what I have listed here. Creating a collegial work environment. Collegial work environment means, in this case, we need to involve all the parties inside the institution, and we need to share our thoughts and suggestions to each other. And second point is integrating
Excuse
the
me, sir.
technology. Yes.
Last 5 minutes are left.
Okay. So integrating technology to support and improve learning approaches, and then providing support to foster interdisciplinary research, and then supporting collaboration of faculty and others for innovations. And this is also very important, because in the transformational approaches, we need to face day-to-day changes, and then innovations are to play an important role. And the last discussion point from IQAC role is communicating departments well on effective changes. That means it is most of the times, or oftentimes, very challenging, because maybe IQC is thinking of some of the changes, but the suggestions are not really approachable to the department. So it is one important thing, communicating the departments very well. So based on all these discussions, I have made a very brief list of recommendations. Uh, One is about the institutions. Another one is for our faculty members, the teachers, and then the departmental heads or the leaders of different departments. So the first recommendation is institutions need to provide capacity building supports for restructuring teaching learning facilities, and how to do that, or what context, or up to what level it should be provided. That is another big issue of discussion. Second point is about the faculties or the teachers. Teachers shall adopt changes in education through technological know-how and learning means of students. In this case, technological know-how is very easy to understand, and we, the faculty members, actually will agree with one word that yes, we need to adapt ourselves with the technological know-how. But many of the times we actually ignore the learning means of students. That is, in our 21st century learner pool, we do not see the style of traditional learning. Actually, our students now learn in a very different way. So the third point is coming about departmental heads. What I have written here, departmental leaders are expected to include the transformational changes in curriculum review and continuous quality improvement procedure, so that they can implement the transformations, the higher education changes or developments. And IQAC will be always assisting them. And that is the end of my presentation. Actually, it's in a very brief, and I will welcome if there is any question or comment from my audience. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful presentation on IQAC. We didn't got any questions from the audience.
Okay, so shall I stop sharing then?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Can you please unmute your video and audio? Sorry, video, audio, not a video. Dr. Rajiv, sir?
Yes, I have unmuted. I have muted my audio.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Now I would like to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Mary D. Silvestri. Dr. Mary D. Silvestri is the assistant professor, the fourth of Bokidon State University. She has in the public service for 20 years up to the present. She started her teaching experience in a public secondary school at Bokidon National High School. She backs a doctoral degree at Bukidnon State University in Doctor of Philosophy in Education major in Educational Researches and served as a college secretary for almost 3 years of the service. Thank you. Now I would like to hand over my session to the Dr. Mary De Silvestri. Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, can you start? Your audio is not visible, ma'am. Audible, ma'am. Can you please unmute your audio?
Thank
Yes.
you, Ma'am Nadma.
No, okay. Ma'am, can you please make your screens big?
For a while.
Yeah. Can you please share your screen? No, it's okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Now
Thank you
start.
very much.
Thank you,
Am
ma'am.
I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone. And good morning here in the Philippines. I am Mary Daphne P. Silvestre from Bukidnon State University of Malaybalay City, Bukidnon. Allow me to share to you the research endeavor entitled Authentic Leaders with Astounding Zeal for Education, a Narrative Case Analysis. Authentic leaders have their own leadership style, which was developed since childhood. The ability to understand and empathize. The ability to understand other people in the organization could positively motivate members to work in the desired culture of the group. The love of work and considering the employees as a family as a quality owned by authentic leaders. Problems are, authentic leaders are known to have awards and recognitions in local and even in international. However, the root of their excellence, performance, purpose, values, integrity, and power in leading the organization is unknown. The study is hinged on the concept of Avolio and Lotan's 2003 on authentic leadership, who revealed that there are prior situations that prompts the quality of authentic leadership. The experiences of the leaders made their unique leadership from others with the same position, assignment, and responsibilities. Authentic leaders may somehow develop their kind of leadership when confronted by a situation. The purpose of the study is to identify authentic leaders, how they lead establishing the culture of the organization, and to explore the challenges encountered by the authentic leaders in handling and managing the organization to come up with a superior services. And lastly, to find out how do they balance their time between their family and their work assignment. Methodology. The study is a qualitative research using case studies since the focus of this exploration is on the lived experiences of the two authentic leaders. The sampling procedure is purposive sampling because it is the intention of the researcher to focus on the two multi-awarded authentic leaders. The study was conducted in Malaybal City, Bukidnon, Philippines, where two schools were the locale of the study. The researcher used these gathering tools. One is the researcher-made guide questions, the document analysis, and the unobtrusive observation. The participants of the study are the following. Participant A is the Dean of the College of Education for 5 years, a Metro Bank awardee in 2010, had 2 scholarships in Japan, the Monbusho Teacher Training in Mathematics Education from 1994 to 1996, and Japanese Language Teacher Training in Japan Foundation, Orama Saitana, Japan from January to March 2011. The Dean also received a national recognition on the ASAM initiatives because of identified top-notchers in the licensure examination for teachers, and Impact Story Award from Queensland University. Participant B is a secondary school principal for 5 years. She received the Gintong Sulu Awardee, award, and national recognition for principals who are the unsung heroes in the field of basic education in 2011. The school where she is handling is the most learning-focused senior high school in the Philippines in 2020 and 2021. She received a recognition as an effective and innovative leader in the Global Leaders and Educators Award 2021. And she is also the first InstaBright National Awardee in the same year. The method of analyzing the data in this study employs the Colache 1978 as adopted by Moro et al. In 2015, in which the 7 steps are used. One is transcribing and familiarizing. Second is track significant statements. Formulate meanings, cluster themes, create exhaustive description, produce fundamental structure, and the last and the most important part of the Colache's method is validating the findings. Results and discussion. As to how do authentic leaders establish the culture of the organization, this is the result. Organization operates in a competitive environment characterized by dynamics and complexity. Every organization in the government operates uniquely. Authentic leaders depict the dynamic forces at work and complexities in handling the organization. One of the strategy of the authentic leader is the strategic environmental scanning. It is gaining and using the information on the inclinations of every teacher, resulting to putting the right person on the right job. The information gathered from the teachers may lead to purposive planning for a justifiable performance of the organization. The course of action among authentic leaders were not just crafted from their own perspective, however, from the needs of the internal stakeholders directly involved in the clients of the school. Paula and Paula 2015 revealed that scanning and analyzing the needs are important facts to bring the organization to an intensified and sustainable operations. So this is the illustration I got out of the experience of the authentic leader. So she had the strategic environmental scanning, in which she let the teacher complete a form that contains what has been done and what needs to be done. In this case, the teacher disclose what are their professional needs. The second, this is the crafting of the ASAM initiative, the advisorship, summative test, adapt an area, and mentoring. So that this ASAM initiative is out of the disclosed idea from the faculty. And then because of the ASAM initiative, this is the result. There were 6 teachers who are let top-notchers and 100% passing rate in the BEE and BSCE program. And ASAM initiative was awarded as one of the best practices in management by the DAP. And then 3 faculty members were awarded as most outstanding teacher in the whole Philippines. Second, what are the challenges encountered by the authentic leaders in handling and managing the organization to come up with a superior services? Being exposed to the different situations in life and training from the family, an authentic leader could be matured in any sense. So these are the things that the authentic leaders made in their or experience in their leadership. When there are conflict, they analyze the conflict and then they look at the potential of each party and they got the win-win solution. And then assigning focal person is the conflict resolution. The third concern is how do authentic leader balance their time between family and work assignment. Okay, this is the result. Love of family and work may result to love and support to faculty. Authentic leaders tend to give strong support to the employees since they consider them as their family member. Carr confirmed that when employees like the faculty receive strong support from the leader, satisfaction and more engagement to work will be observed. When the authentic leader considers each faculty as a member of the family, more work engagement of the faculty happen. So these are the salient findings of the study. The basis of building a school culture of the authentic leaders are based from the strategic environmental scanning. Decisions are based from the needs of the faculty since the authentic leader devised their projects, organized trainings, or plans of action from the information gathered from the faculty. As to the challenges encountered by the authentic leaders, common clash among faculty members are the emerging situations in an organization. However, they consider conflict as an important facet of their leadership, where it allows authentic leaders to understand and analyze the root cause of the conflict. Assigning the right person to the right job could be one of the main reasons of the conflict, of the intervention, Work balance with family and the responsibility as an authentic leader in school is essential. Love of family and work may result to love and support to co-workers. So this is the illustration I got from the experiences of the authentic leaders. Okay, we have here the establishing the culture of the organization, challenges encountered, and balance between family and work assignment, and that makes authentic leaders with astounding zeal for education. That ends my presentation. Thank you, and once again, good afternoon.
Thank you, ma'am, for your excellent presentation. From the audience, we don't have any questions for you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Can you please mute your session? Now I would like to introduce our next speaker, Professor C. Venkatachalam. Professor C. Venkatachalam has achieved his MBA, MPhil, PhD degree from Bharatiya University, Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu, India, in sociology with industrial sociology as a specialization in 1984, 1985, and 1990 respectively. He is currently working as a professor and head of the Department of Sociology, Periyar University, Salem, Tamil Nadu, India. He has served as for UNICEF Project Universal Immunization Program and Oral Rehydration Therapy Project of WHO and Swedish International Development Agency project. He also backs the Lifetime Achievement in Sociology in 2017. Professor C. Venkatachalam is a global expert on children and women social issues. Now I would like to hand over the session to Professor C. Venkatachalam, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Sir, can you please share your screen?
Yes, madam.
Now you can start, sir. Please share your screen.
Yes. Visible now? The screen. Okay. So here, at the outset, my sincere and heartfelt thanks to go to the organizers of this important event. And I am Professor Venkatachalam, as Madam introduced. So with a lot of exposure to the field, I have involved in several research projects since starting from DANLAP, then UNICEF regarding the planning for the primary health centers in India. Then I involved USAID, National Family and Health Survey. Then related to this International Developing Agency project in connection with the performance of the village social forestry workers, and Indian University Grants Commission's project on the elderly, and the Indian Council of Social Science Research has given the fund for to conduct the research on the Artisans Road and all. With a lot of exposure in the field, I thought of the research and the academic teaching should go together, because we can understand these so two remarks. So learning from outreach is very, very important aspect in terms of the classroom teaching, and not only that, with the policy and bodies are concerned. Outreach is systematic attempt to provide service beyond conventional limits to particular segments of the community, because I service all these years, I have developed a lot of innovative ideas. One of the things is we adapted the villages on behalf of the university and the department to focus on the multi-dimensional development, to develop women's empowerment, the avoiding the children's stagnation and the schools dropouts. So the cooperative effort has been given. There are plenty of issues to be given importance regarding the things in
Professor C. Venkatachalam, sir, please share your screen.
yes, madam. Yes, in between there is a trouble. Okay, so there is
Please
plenty of
make
issues
sure
to
your
be
connection
given
is good.
importance. Yeah. I think audible, madam. Is audible?
Please share your screen, sir.
Yeah. Yes, madam. Yes. Yeah. So outreach activities are. I felt that it is very important to make sure of what are the developmental activities we learned from theory, which is applying to the area which we are working. In this connection, we have adopted several villages during as an important aspect of the on behalf of the university and the power department. We brought several aspects to the particular area. The outreach program aims to help uplift and support those who are of certain services and rights. This is need of the hour, because through the outreach activities, action-oriented programs may be developed. Because I have prepared the human development report, the funded UNDP and the Tamil Nadu State Commission. It is also giving learning, social health support and other projects for their welfare, because the micro level project, micro level aim, which help the policy making bodies as well. It is a action to provide the decent ambience in the lifestyle, because through the certainly the outreach programs are in a position to help the people to overcome the crisis and how to go for the motivating their in the right direction. So into the four aspects to understand the importance of outreach activities, to analyze the scope of outreach programs, to learn the kinds of efforts required to provide the needy, to examine the role of academic institutions and governmental organizations to strengthen the outreach programs. First of all, outreach can help the needy segments of the population, irrespective of the continents, nations, states, blocks. wages and camps and other social affiliation, because everyone requires some kind of help, some kind of knowledge, some kind of exposure that may not be available in rural areas particularly, because all rural areas are not same. Some is very far away from the mainstream. So we can focus on how we can, with the expertise of theory and practice and methodology, which will help a lot, but it helped a lot also. It has a pretty plan to find the gap areas, take the people to overcome the difficulties. Because since the person from sociology, but I worked with the various agencies in the state and the district level, go for the perspective planning for the 20 years. And what are things to prioritize regarding the health aspect, regarding the education and gender disparity, to avoid the gender disparity, and what are the difficulties for children. Some of the aspects are very negative, and balancing is we learned, because the learning from bottom to top, it is the approach of the outreach activities. It can help the fieldwork to prepare needed document blueprint for people who are working the developmental scenario through the this focus on the health is, all we know very well, health is a very important aspect which can help to bring out the best from the human beings, because healthy individuals can contribute the best. As we know very well about the sustainable development SDGs, talking about regarding the health aspect, reduction of infant mortality, still we have to work hard. It is not issues of biological. It is related to the awareness of the family, awareness of the women, under 5 mortality, malnourished children, which is UNICEF is classifying that it is invisible hunger, maternal mortality, and the education of the care providers, because the people who are providing for the care to the children, needy, and the elderly, that is also very important aspect. Health is from the health point, finding the right issue requires performing community assessment to determine where the more needed. Because not only for the outreach activities, it is working for how the community can perform very well. Second aspect is education, is a personality development of the children, because the children's ambience, the children's performance, to avoid the stagnation, and the personality development is the key. So which will help them to develop the scientific temper and identifying the children's talents. But every year, the university which I was working, we lot of times to ask them to prepare the scientific projects and bring the faculty members of science departments to identify what are the talents they have. We bring the students to the National Science Day, and every year 2000, we are celebrating in India. February 28th is a National Science Day. We bring the children to the university, and which help them to develop their personal development and go for the higher studies as well. Addressing the youth and bring out the best, because many of the youth, you know very well, because mere college education alone will not help them to find out the hidden talents of them, to bring various organizations and financial institutions to bring to the concerned villages and identify what are the youth having the lagging in applying the jobs, and what are the needed requirements which help them by through the outreach activities. Women empowerment through the strategies and the interventions, particularly familiar with minimizing the problems, maximizing the efficiency. So through self-help groups to strengthen some departments to help them bring out their best by the various strategies and that. Interviewing and assessment, because not only by the outreach activities, not going for the overall the things, but with the help of the methodological tools, interviewing them and assessment on the basis of what they, because the village we have the, identified, and which are the having a more socially, economically backward, and social justice and diversity. Through the outreach justice, we try to make the justice, and they are asking the link between one organization with other organization, one entity with other entity. So women are able to move towards various agencies, various aspects. Then ethics and social policy, as we know very well about the, because which need of the hour is how the policy oriented programs, because several policies have been created, the policies for social policy, which consist of the industrial policy, the policy for the age, the forest policy, several policies, because how these policies are working, that is the main aim of the outreach activities we learned from the grassroots level. The human behavior and the social environment, which are very, very important for the how the behavioral aspect, which is a very at micro level, which will help to develop the social environment, because one of the health aspect according to WHO is social health is very important, because neighborhood relationship and all, through the outreach activities we could see how the people are developing themselves. Research and experience tell us that people need to be about something 3 to 7 times before they act, because that is important aspect, important dimensions to keep on keeping advocacy, emphasizing them, their role, because every the basic institution family has to deliver, has to bring out the technocrats, scientists, bureaucrats. So with the help of these things, so our intervention strategies helped a lot to bring their best. Action-oriented research is key to understanding the people and their needs, because our outreach activities not only based on the pure or basic or fundamental research, but we provide action-oriented research, because through the action-oriented research, we can apply to the application-oriented, and policy-making bodies will understand what are things to be done, because every area, every village, every hamlet is unique. We cannot make this the plan for each area is area focused. Encourage discussion on family neighborhood relations, because family environment is a very key. So wherever the family is in trouble, the family cannot prepare as a primary group, as told by Charles Horton Cooley, is a seedbed of the society. That is consists of family neighborhood relationship, because it will help a lot to bring out the best from them. Taking part in the local events to extend the feelings of the feelings of oneness, because the main purpose is, because every unity, every entity, wherever we are contributing and concentrating, which help them to bring their best, because oneness, the solidarity, cohesiveness, which we could see through the outreach activities concerned. Being a partner in the community is related to the participant observation with there, because when the research is not only for the overall view, but the researcher and we have played a role as participant observation. We stayed in the village, and several aspects we could understand at a micro level. Target leaders on the ground to sharpen their attention, what they are going for the information, to meet the people from their own places, to how to make use of their ideas, how to make use of our interactions through, because our to ask to do their best. Using your space, bringing the many stakeholders to bring their attention, because we recommend, because very important aspect is to bring the many stakeholders, not only for the non-organization, formal financial institutions, wherever possibilities are there, we have done developed a kind of project. Support community for, because knowledge is very important. Knowledge is power. What are the facilities are available being done in various organizations and governance we have done in the
Sorry to
selected
interrupt you, sir.
villages.
Only 5 minutes
Where
left.
I know. Being concerned, getting involved, building mutually fruitful opportunities also we have developed through our intervention strategies through the outreach. Plenty of issues, because outreach serves a vital function, filling the gap to service and helping those who face heightened barriers to care. Because it's a very important thing, is because they could not understand how to come up, how to cope up with this, because stress and all. Outreach seeking establish personal connection that provides spark to the journey back to the dignified life, because very important aspect is, because decent life, and we try to bring the best. It emphasizes goals meeting individuals on the street, increasing access to the services, because services are plenty. That should be emphasized and that should be taken to them. Village adoption is academic institution for the needs of the community, because our purpose is we have developed the villages, we have our villages on behalf of the Department of Society and on behalf of the universities later on. But we bringing science departments, various other departments like textile, apparel designs, and botany, and many other departments, even though we are from the social sciences, we try to bring wherever the food sciences and all, to because make use of these things. Human development is the key for the human development is through outreach activities, because human development consists of several dimensions. Some of the aspects are very positive, some of the negative. All the negative aspects to be converted. See, helping the children to perform well in the education and go for higher studies. The elderly respecting the socialization process positively, because elderly, according to us, elderly is not a curse, but elderly with a vast of wisdom, experience, expertise, which is very essential for the socialization process, which is starting from the family, that elderly can deliver their best. Maximize efficiency of the labor force by the concept of eliminating poverty. Elimination of the poverty is in the mind. Poverty should be removed by what are the sources are available. Providing the exercise to motivate the women who belong to self-help groups to entrepreneurial skills, because they know very well about their developmental, but marketing skills very important that we to provide within those things. Learning through outreach, not only by the people are getting the benefit, but the who are doing the outreach activities, identifying variables, consistent research actions, because identifying the what are the independent and dependent variables, what are the variables can be identified to develop the hypothesis to help the policy making bodies, because policy bodies can understand what are things are what is our purpose is social laboratory model of learning through the outreach. Social laboratory, every subject is a laboratory, but according to us, social laboratory, the changes are taking place here and there. But how these things, for example, a district may not be a very in terms of socio-economic background is concerned, but some other districts are doing a very wonderful job. So bring them, and what are the parameters they have identified on how they're doing. Keen observation methods can bring the laurels to the areas where the focus is there. We know observation is a very important aspect for the area connection. Focus group interviews are the key elements. Case studies also can play significant roles to fulfill the gaps in periodical meetings, the leaders and grassroots level, which can help to develop theoretical models to solve many of the problems are concerned. And others roles instance the outreach activities, non-governmental organizations, and maximize the concept notes of different issues to be prepared. Various camps to be done with the support of the functional agencies preparing. So this is important dimension. My concluding remark is social problems such as illiteracy, ignorance, poverty, gender inequality, and underemployment can be eradicated through outreach programs. If outreach programs are doing with the PAKA, with the planning and the execution capacities are there. They see in the events, schemes and programs are to be developed since each area is unique. Each area is whether rural or urban or semi-urban or urban, but the thing is very important aspect of identifying the gap areas. Moving towards a motivated society, moral building phenomenon are the compact mechanisms in all these outreach activities are concerned. So with this outreaches, we learned, we understood the past more than 2 decades. We learned a lot, not only to the areas are getting the benefit, but even those who are doing the outreach activities, our student community and the faculty members also get the benefit, and the university gained a lot. So with this few remarks, I express my sincere and thank for giving me an opportunity to share my views at this time. Thank you for your time.